The city streets were cold that night. The wind howled between the buildings, carrying trash and dust. Most people were already inside their warm homes, doors locked, windows shut. But one man walked alone under the dim streetlights. His name was Jack. He wore an old brown coat and carried a small grocery bag. He had just finished his shift at the warehouse and was on his way home. As Jack passed an alley near a closed bakery, he heard something. It was soft at first, a small sound like a whimper. He stopped. His eyes searched the darkness between the buildings. He heard it again, this time clearer. Someone was crying. Jack stepped into the alley slowly. The air was colder there. Trash bins stood in the corners. A broken light flickered above. Then he saw them. Two small figures huddled together behind the bins. They were not human. Their skin was pale and smooth, with a soft glow. One had light blue hair, messy and tangled, and the other had long white hair that fell across her shoulders. They were wrapped in rags, no shoes on their feet. Their knees were pulled up to their chests, arms wrapped tightly around each other. They looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. The older one pushed the younger behind her, trying to shield her. Her thin arms trembled. She looked ready to run or fight. Jack didn't move closer. He slowly placed his grocery bag down and took off his coat. "I'm not here to hurt you," Jack said gently. The older girl didn't answer. Her jaw was tight. The younger one peeked out from behind her sister's shoulder. Her lips were blue from the cold. Jack lowered his coat on the ground and backed away. "You can have this," he said. "It's warm." The older one hesitated. Then she grabbed the coat quickly and wrapped it around both of them. Jack saw how small their hands were, how thin their arms looked under the dirty cloth. He reached into the grocery bag and pulled out a bread roll. "Here," he said. "You need to eat." The younger girl's eyes lit up. She moved forward a little, but her sister held her back. Jack placed the roll on the ground and stepped back again. Slowly, the younger girl crawled forward and picked it up. She bit into it fast, like she hadn't eaten in days. Jack watched them for a moment. His heart felt heavy. These were just kids, alone, freezing. No one else had stopped for them. "Do you have a place to go?" Jack asked. The older girl didn't speak. She just shook her head slowly. Her arms held the younger girl tightly. Jack looked at them both. He could turn and leave. He could call someone. But something inside told him not to. Something told him to help. "My home isn't far," Jack said. "It's warm. There's food. You can come with me." Just for tonight, the older girl narrowed her eyes. She didn't trust him. But the younger one tugged on her sister's arm. "Please," the little one whispered. "I'm so cold." The older one looked at her, then at Jack. Her shoulders dropped. She nodded once. Jack moved slowly, holding out his hand. "Okay, we'll go slow." The girls stood on weak legs. The older one helped her sister walk. Both clung to the coat Jack had given them. Da, da, da. As they left the alley, Jack kept an eye out, guiding them carefully through the empty streets. He didn't say much. He didn't ask questions. He just walked beside them, holding the grocery bag in one hand and his phone in the other, ready in case of danger. When they reached his small apartment, he unlocked the door and stepped aside. "You can come in," he said. The girls paused, then stepped in slowly. The warmth hit them at once. The heater hummed softly. The lights were dim. A small couch sat in the middle of the room. A folded blanket lay on top. Jack took out more bread, a bottle of clean water, and some fruit from his bag. He placed it on the table and stepped back. "Eat, then rest," he said kindly. The girls sat quietly. The older one didn't touch anything at first, but when the younger girl reached for the apple and smiled, she followed slowly. Carefully, Jack sat across the room watching them. He didn't know who they were. He didn't know what they had been through, but he knew one thing: they were safe now, and for the first time in a long time, so were they. The door closed behind them with a soft click. The warmth of the small apartment wrapped around the two alien girls like a blanket. But still, they didn't relax. The older girl kept her sister close, standing stiffly in the hallway. Her glowing eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. She didn't trust this place. She didn't trust the human. Jack noticed their fear. He didn't try to speak, simply walked to the kitchen and placed a bowl of hot soup on the table. Smell of herbs and broth filled the room. "You don't have to eat if you don't want to," he said gently. "But it's here if you're hungry." The younger one sniffed the air and took a step forward. Her sister grabbed her arm quickly, shaking her head. It whispered in a strange language Jack couldn't understand. But the fear in their voices was clear. They thought it was a trick. The older girl moved slowly into the room, guiding her sister toward a corner where they could sit with their backs against the wall. She kept the coat tight around them. She didn't want food. She wanted escape routes. Jack walked to the other side of the room and sat on the couch. He didn't look at them. He didn't move closer. Turned on a small lamp, dim and warm, and stared at the flickering flame of a fake candle on the shelf. The younger girl watched him. Her stomach growled. Her mouth watered. She looked at the soup, then at Jack. He wasn't watching. He wasn't forcing anything. She whispered something to her sister. The older one shook her head again, then paused. Her expression changed. Her fingers loosened. The younger one crawled to the table. She grabbed the bowl with both hands and brought it back to her corner. She didn't eat yet. She waited. The older girl dipped her finger in first, touched it to her tongue. Her eyes widened. It wasn't poison. They both began to eat. Jack kept quiet. He didn't want to scare them. He pulled out a small blanket from the storage box under the couch and placed it on a chair, close enough for them to take, but not close enough to feel trapped. Hours passed. The girls finished the soup and huddled together, their eyes heavy from exhaustion. The younger one's head dropped onto her sister's shoulder. The older girl blinked slowly, struggling to stay awake. Jack stood up and walked to the hallway. "You can sleep in the bedroom," he said, pointing. "There's a bed." Warmer there. The older one tensed. She shook her head sharply. Jack stopped. "No pressure," he said, lifting his hands. "You can sleep here if you want." He turned away and entered the bedroom himself. He left the door slightly open and the lights on low. He lay on the edge of his bed listening. A few minutes later he heard soft footsteps. 2 sets. He didn't move. The girls peeked into the room. The younger one pointed at the pile of pillows on the floor. Jack nodded. She ran over and grabbed one. The older girl followed, taking a blanket from the chair. They returned to the living room and curled up on the rug. For them, it was better than any bed. Jack exhaled. The next morning, the smell of toast filled the air. The girls sat up, blinking at the soft light coming through the window. The older one noticed her sister's cheeks. They had color again. Jack was at the stove, frying eggs. He had laid out 2 plates, 2 cups of water, and slices of bread. He smiled when he saw them awake. "Morning," he said. The older girl didn't answer, but the younger one gave a small nod. They ate slowly, their hands still trembling. But they didn't stop this time. They didn't whisper warnings. They were still scared, but something was different. After breakfast, Jack placed a box on the floor. Inside were clothes. Not new, but clean. A soft hoodie, leggings, even socks. The younger girl reached for the socks first. She had never worn any. The older one looked at Jack. For a second, their eyes met. "Why?" she asked in a broken voice. Her words were shaky but clear. Jack didn't answer right away. He sat on the floor across from them. "Because you looked cold," he said. "Because no one else helped you." The girls didn't respond. But their eyes followed him now, not with fear, but curiosity. Jack stood up and walked to the window. He pulled the curtain back and pointed at the sky. "You're not in a cage anymore," he said softly. "You're free to go if you want, or you can stay." The younger girl leaned against her sister. The older one held her close, still silent, but her eyes were not hard anymore. They were just tired. That night, the human left the door to the bedroom wide open, and when he awoke the next morning, he saw 2 small bodies curled up at the foot of his bed. They had chosen to stay. It started with a knock. Not a loud one, just firm, steady. The kind of knock that made Jack freeze where he stood. He glanced at the front door, then at the two alien girls sitting on the floor. Building a tiny house from toy blocks he had found in a thrift store, the older girl looked up. She saw Jack's face change. The younger one stopped smiling. Another knock followed. Jack placed the dish he was drying on the table and walked to the door slowly. He opened it just a crack. Two men stood there, one in a long black coat, the other in a gray uniform with a badge on his chest. Behind them, a white van hummed quietly on the road. Jack Hargrove, the man in the coat asked. Yes, Jack replied, keeping his voice calm. We received a report, the other one said, stepping forward slightly. Two undocumented minors, non-human possibly staying here. Jack's grip tightened on the doorknob. They're safe, he said quietly. They're not hurting anyone. The officer nodded. Still, we need to verify that. It's procedure. May we come in? Jack turned and looked at the girls. The younger one was hiding behind her sister now. The older girl stood up fast, pulling her little sister with her, backing into the hallway. Don't take us, she whispered. Jack opened the door wider and stepped aside. But he moved quickly to stand between the girls and the visitors. They've been through enough, he said. Don't scare them. The man in the coat gave a soft sigh. We just want to talk to them. We're not here to arrest anyone. If they're abandoned, they need placement. I'm their placement, Jack said, louder this time. The girls heard it. The older one's lip trembled. The younger girl clung to her hand. The officer stepped inside slowly. One of them crouched down to meet the girls at eye level. Hello, he said gently. My name is Officer Bryn. We want to make sure you're okay. The older girl didn't answer. Did this man hurt you? He asked. She shook her head fast. Did he force you to stay? No, she said quickly. He gave us food and blankets. The younger one stepped forward. He gave me socks, she said, lifting her foot to show the fluffy pink pair she wore. They're soft. Officer Bryn smiled a little. That's good to hear. But the man in the coat took out a scanner. You still need to check there. Registration chips. They're registered under anyone we have to report. Jack felt his heart sink. He knew these girls didn't have any chips. He had checked. The scanner beeped twice. No matches. The man in the coat looked up. They're undocumented. Most likely escapees. They're not criminals, Jack said. No, the man replied, but someone might come looking for them. And we can't leave them with you unless it's official. The older girl suddenly stepped forward. We don't want to go, she said, louder this time. Please. The younger girl ran and grabbed Jack's leg. Don't let them take us. Her voice cracked with panic. Her little body shook. The officers looked at each other. Jack knelt down and put his hands on both their shoulders. You're staying right here, I promise. No one's taking you anywhere. But they have orders, the older girl whispered. I have rights too, Jack said, standing. They're not slaves. They're not pets. They're children. And I'm not letting anyone take them from a safe home. It's the man in the coat side again. Fine, we'll start the paperwork. But if anyone comes forward with a claim, they won't, Jack said, because no one cared enough to come looking. The officers nodded. You'll be responsible for their education, food, and safety. I already am. They handed him a tablet. Start filling this today. We'll check back in 3 days. The door closed behind them. The apartment felt quiet again. Jack turned. The girls were still staring at the door. The older one wiped her sister's tears. She was crying too. You said we could stay, she said. You're staying, Jack said firmly. As long as I breathe. The younger one ran into his arms without warning. Jack caught her, lifting her off the ground. Her small arms wrapped around his neck tightly. The older girl didn't hug him, but she stood closer now, closer than ever before. That night, Jack didn't sleep. He filled out forms, he made calls. He sent messages to support centers asking for resources. Because now, they were more than guests. They were family. Asterisk, the rain fell gently that night. Jack sat on the floor of the living room, surrounded by stacks of forms and open books. The fire flickered softly in the small heater. Across from him, the two alien girls were wrapped together in one large blanket. heads resting on the pillow pile they had made into a nest. The younger one had fallen asleep. Her tiny hands clutched a worn plush toy Jack had found in a thrift box earlier that day, but the older girl was still awake. Her glowing eyes stared at the ceiling, unmoving. Jack looked up and noticed her silence. "You all right?" he asked softly. She didn't answer at first. Then, without turning her head, she said, "We were 5. Just 5. Jack waited. Our planet was quiet, she continued, not rich, not strong. We had food and trees and soft water. I had a baby sister and 2 parents who loved us." Her voice didn't shake, but her fingers twisted the edge of the blanket. Then one day, the ships came. Not from the sky, from the black market docks. They called themselves rescuers, but they were just slavers with painted lies. Jack closed the book in his hands. He leaned forward a little, listening with care. They offered work. They said our father could earn credits off-world, a better life. But when he left with them, he never came back. Weeks passed. My mother grew quiet. Then one day, the same ships returned, but this time they didn't ask. They took. Her jaw tightened. I was hiding under the floorboards when they kicked in the door. I watched my mother scream. I watched them pull her away while my sister cried and cried. Jack's hands curled into fists. I didn't move. I couldn't. I was too scared. I stayed silent until the noise stopped. When I came out, the house was empty. She paused. For 2 days, I waited. No one came. No neighbors. No help. Just silence. So I took my sister and ran. Jack stood and walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of warm water, and brought it back to her. She took it slowly, hands still trembling. We walked through forests, hid in trucks, slept in back alleys. I stole scraps. I lied for rides. Anything to keep her fed. She was so small, the older girl whispered, touching the younger one's hair. I couldn't let her die too. Jack sat beside her, his voice low. You didn't let her die. You kept her alive. You protected her when no one else did. Didn't answer, but her throat moved as she swallowed the water. I tried to be her mother, she whispered. But I was just a child too. You're not alone anymore, Jack said. The girl looked at him sharply. Why do you say that? You don't know us? I don't need to, Jack replied. I know what I see. I see someone brave enough to run, strong enough to care, and kind enough to share food with her little sister when she's starving. She looked away, eyes shining. Jack stood and walked to the window. Rain tapped gently against the glass. I lost someone too, he said. The girl's eyes moved back to him. A long time ago. My wife, she got sick. I did everything I could. But it wasn't enough. He turned around, meeting her eyes. Since then, I've just been surviving. Quiet life, same job, same days. But when I saw you two in that alley, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. She hugged her knees to her chest, her voice barely a whisper. What did you feel? Purpose, he said. I saw something broken, but not lost. I saw something worth protecting. The older girl looked at her sister again, and she said, she doesn't remember our parents' voices. Sometimes she asks me what they sounded like. I don't know how to answer. You can give her something better, Jack said. You can give her new voices, new memories, new mornings. The girl stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly she nodded. That night, Jack pulled out the fold-out couch and gave them soft pillows. As he tucked the blanket over them, the younger girl stirred. Her eyes opened just a little.
Oh.
And she whispered, Did Mommy come back?
Oh.
The older girl froze. Jack sat down beside them. No, he said softly. But someone else did. We reached out and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm not your dad, he said. But if you'll let me, I'll be here every morning when you wake up. The younger girl nodded sleepily, then slipped back into dreams. The older one didn't speak. Just before Jack stood to leave, she reached out and touched his hand just once. And in that one quiet moment, something inside her began to heal. The sun rose gently through the small window. It painted the room in soft gold. Birds chirped outside, and the sound of a neighbor's dog barking came from the distance. The air inside was warm, and the scent of pancakes drifted from the kitchen. Jack flipped one more pancake onto the plate. He turned and saw the younger alien girl peeking at him from behind the couch. Her white hair was tangled, and she still wore the oversized hoodie he had given her days ago. She hugged a plush bear tightly to her chest. "You're up early," Jack said with a smile. She nodded. Her eyes were wide but no longer scared. "Just curious." "I made pancakes," he added, lifting the plate. Her eyes lit up like stars. Shh. Came out slowly, barefoot on the wooden floor. Jack placed the plate on the table along with a small jar of berry syrup. He had searched 3 stores to find one she might like. "Is it okay?" he asked as she sat down. She grabbed the fork, sliced a small piece, and placed it in her mouth. Her face changed instantly. Her whole body perked up. "It's sweet," she said, voice muffled by food. Jack laughed. "That's good. You can have more." The older girl walked in next, rubbing her eyes. She saw her sister eating happily and gave a small nod to Jack. She still didn't trust him fully, but she had. Stopped sitting with her back to the wall. After breakfast, Jack brought out a box. "What's that?" the younger girl asked. "Something special," Jack said. He opened the box to reveal art supplies, markers, crayons, drawing pads, glitter pens. The younger girl gasped. "You like drawing, don't you?" Jack asked. She nodded fast. Then, "You can draw anything you want. It's yours." She fell to her knees beside the box and pulled out a green crayon. She didn't even speak. She just began to draw fast, full of excitement. Her sister sat beside her quietly, watching her sketch. Jack stepped away, giving them space. Later that afternoon, he found them both asleep on the couch, the drawing pad still in her hands. Picked it up gently and smiled. It was a picture. A tall figure with messy hair stood between 2 small girls. They were all holding hands, standing under a bright sun with the word home written in shaky letters at the top. Jack stared at it for a long time. That night something changed. After dinner, Jack sat on the couch reading an old book while the girls colored beside him. The younger one suddenly looked up. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Of course," Jack replied. She crawled onto the couch and sat next to him. Then, in a soft voice, she said, "I think I want you to be my dad." Jack froze. The older girl lifted her head fast. The younger one continued, "You give us warm food. You don't yell. You fix our socks. You make us laugh. It's what dads do, right?" Jack's throat tightened. He lowered his book and gently touched her hand. "I'm not your real dad," he said softly. "I know," she said. "Real dads don't always stay. You did." She leaned into him and rested her head on his shoulder. "Is it okay if I call you Dad?" Jack didn't answer right away. He looked at the older girl. She wasn't crying, but her eyes were full of something deep, something heavy, something breaking apart and being rebuilt at the same time. She gave a small nod. Jack placed his arm gently around the younger girl. "It's more than okay," he whispered. "It's the best thing anyone's ever called me." The younger one smiled and hugged him tightly. The older girl didn't move. But later, when she thought no one was watching, she took a blank sheet and began to draw. She didn't draw stars or flowers. She drew 3 people, and she titled the picture, "Family." From that day, everything changed in small ways. The younger girl started humming while brushing her teeth. She began calling out Dad whenever she wanted help reaching the top shelf or when she spilled juice. The older one still watched carefully, but now she helped Jack wash dishes, folded the blankets without being asked, and even smiled sometimes when he made bad jokes. Their home wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was growing stronger with each new word. Each quiet drawing, each whispered "Good night, Dad." The wind carried something different that day. It's not just dust or cold. It carried danger. Jack didn't notice it at first. He was too busy helping the girls hang up their new drawings on the wall, proud of how far they'd come. Laughter filled the room. Pancakes sizzled on the pan. Felt like a normal day. But outside, in the darker corners of the city, an old name was being whispered. The name of a slaver, a collector, and he had returned. In a shadowy alley across the market, a tall alien man in dark robes leaned against a broken wall. His eyes were black, his skin cracked like old leather, and 3 sharp rings pierced through his lower lip. A silver device on his wrist blinked red. He held up a holo-dash screen. It showed a blurry picture to young alien girls, thin and dirty, hiding behind trash bins. He smiled. Property located. That night, Jack came home from the store with a bag full of new socks and candy. He opened the door with a smile, but stopped the moment he saw the look on the older girl's face. She stood frozen in the center of the room, holding her sister close. "What happened?" Jack asked. She didn't answer. She just pointed to the window. Jack walked over and looked outside. A black vehicle had been parked across the street all afternoon. Nothing unusual until now. A red symbol had been painted on its side during the last hour. Symbol Jack recognized. He had seen it years ago on the news branding from an illegal trade ring that stole alien refugees. Jack locked every window. Every door he moved fast, but calm. The girls watched his every move. "It's him," the older one said quietly. "The one who took our mother. He's here." Jack turned sharply. "Are you sure?" "I saw him outside the market yesterday. He smiled at me." He knew. Jack's heart pounded. That night, they didn't sleep in their rooms. Jack laid out blankets in the back closet. No windows, only one small light and a heavy metal door. He gave the older girl a walkie-talkie and told her not to open the door unless she heard his voice. "I'm going to talk to someone tomorrow," Jack said. "A friend who used to work security.
Oh.
He'll know what to do." The younger girl tugged at his sleeve. "Will he take us away?" "No," Jack said firmly. "No one's taking you?" The next day, Jack visited an old friend, Dean, a retired officer. Dean frowned when he saw the symbol Jack had drawn. "They're known for moving fast," Dean said. "They don't go through law. They grab and vanish." Jack's voice was low, "And I need to make sure they don't grab anything ever again." Dean handed him a small device. "This creates a signal blocker. Hide the girls somewhere secure. If that slaver marked them, they're being tracked." Jack rushed home. He didn't wait. He took the girls to the back of the apartment building, where an old underground storage room was hidden behind a rusted grate. "Stay here for now," he said, handing the older girl food, water, and the blocker device. "If you hear anything strange, don't come out," the younger girl cried. "Don't go out there. He'll take you too." Jack knelt and hugged her tight. "I'll be back, I promise." That night, Jack waited in the apartment alone. He left the lights on. He opened the door slightly. A trap. At midnight. The doorknob turned. Jack stood ready. The slaver stepped in. Tall, cold, confident. "You're hiding my property?" he said with a grin. Jack's jaw clenched. "They're not property. They're children." The slaver laughed. "Children grow. Children can be sold. And those two are worth more than most." Jack didn't back down. "I know your type," he said, "but you've picked the wrong home." The slaver's smile vanished. "Here? A nobody. You can't stop me." "I don't have to," Jack said calmly. "Because right now, your ship is being scanned. My friend sent a report to the station. You're being watched." The slaver lunged. Jack moved fast, hitting a panic button under the table. Alarms blared outside. Red lights flashed. The slaver turned and ran, but officers tackled him in the hallway. It was over in seconds when it was quiet again. Jack rushed down to the hidden room and opened the door. The girls were curled up together, awake, afraid. Jack knelt down, tears in his eyes. "Over," he whispered. "He's gone." The older girl stared for a moment, then ran forward and hugged him without saying a word. The younger one followed, wrapping her arms around both of them. That night, he slept in Jack's bed, all 3 of them huddled together under the same blanket. No fear, no chains, just safety and love. The sun rose after the longest night of their lives. Inside the apartment, it was quiet. The girls were still asleep, wrapped in soft blankets. One rested against Jack's chest, her fingers clinging to his shirt. The other had her arm draped over her little sister protectively. Jack stayed still. Didn't want to move. didn't want to wake them. He just watched their peaceful faces and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete, safe, hold, later that morning. News spread across the city. The slaver had been caught. The illegal ship had been impounded. Dozens of records were found. On the onboard computer names, faces, routes. It was the biggest trafficking bust in the last 5 years, and it started with a single man and 2 brave girls. When Jack stepped outside with the girls to buy fruit, people stared, but not with judgment. They nodded. They smiled. Some even clapped. One woman placed a small stuffed animal in the younger girl's hands and whispered, "You're brave." For the first time, the older girl didn't hide behind Jack. She stood beside him, holding her sisters. Head high. They weren't invisible anymore. That evening, Officer Bryn returned to the apartment with 2 other officials. They sat with Jack at the kitchen table while the girls listened from the hallway. "You've been approved," Bryn said. "After reviewing everything, the danger you faced, the protection you gave them, the stability of your home, the board has signed off." Jack leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "It means," the officer smiled, "you're now their legal guardian, fully and officially. Their names will be added to your registry." Jack looked toward the hallway. The girls were peeking around the corner. Bryn continued. "They also qualify for relocation support, learning credits, and medical care. They're part of the system now, but not as wards. As daughters." Jack's voice was rough. "Thank you." When the officers left, Jack sat down on the floor. He opened his arms. The girls ran to him. He held them tight and whispered, "You're mine now, forever." The older girl spoke, voice steady, strong. "I never thought this would happen. I thought people like us were only meant to run." Jack looked into her eyes. "Not anymore. No one will ever make you run again." In the weeks that followed, their lives changed. The girls went to school, real school, for the first time. They were shy at first. The younger one clung to Jack's arm every morning at drop-off. But little by little, they opened up. The younger girl made friends quickly. She drew pictures every day. The teacher said she never stopped smiling. The older one was slower to trust, but she showed her strength in class. She asked smart questions. She helped others with their homework. The teachers said she was fierce but kind. Jack picked them up every afternoon. They ran to him, arms open wide, laughing. They had a bedtime now, warm milk before sleep. Stories with silly voices, goodnight kisses. They had their own beds. But most nights, they still snuck into Jack's room and fell asleep beside him. Not because they were scared, but because they felt safe. One morning, Jack packed lunch. The younger girl handed him a drawing. It was a house. Inside were 3 figures holding hands above them. She had written a new word, family. He looked at her. "Is that us?" She giggled. "Of course. You're the tall one." Jack smiled and picked her up, spinning her once before setting her down again. She laughed the whole time. The older girl stood nearby, watching. She didn't laugh, but she smiled, and that was more than enough. Months passed. Winter faded. Spring came, and one day as they walked home from school, the younger girl said, "People used to look through us like we didn't matter." Jack held her hand tighter. She added, "Now they wave. Now they say hi." "That's because you do matter," Jack said. "You always did." The older girl spoke next, voice quiet. "You didn't save us. You gave us something to live for." Jack looked at both of them. "You saved me too." That night, they had a small celebration. 3 candles on the table, 3 paper crowns from a craft kit, 3 voices singing one made-up family song. There was no blood between them, no shared DNA, but they had something stronger, love earned through kindness, trust built through pain, and a promise that could never be broken again. They were once forgotten, once hunted, once invisible. But now, in one small home at the edge of the city, they had everything they needed. A father, 2 daughters, and a new beginning. Together forever.